You've just made the big decision that you want to learn more about AWS, and you even took it a step further and decided, you know what? I'm also going to get an AWS certification. One of the most common questions I get for those that are beginning their AWS certification journey is whether or not they should go for the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner or the AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate first. This is a big decision because if this is your first AWS certification, the certification you choose could determine whether or not you're successful or not. In this video, I'm going to give you everything you need so that by the end of the video, you can make an informed decision on what's right for you. I'm going to go over the AWS certification hierarchy so you can figure out where the Cloud Practitioner and the Solution Architect Associate certification line up within the overall AWS certification path. We're going to drill into the Cloud Practitioner to determine who is that certification for, as well as dig deeper into the Solution Architect Associate to determine who is a target candidate for that certification. After we've gone over all the details, I'll weigh in and let you know what I would do if I was in your shoes. Now, if you're new here, I'm Greg, creator of Thoughtful Techie Cloud. My YouTube channel is dedicated to help you navigate on your AWS cloud and tech journey. I've been in the tech industry for over 20 years, and I've worked at AWS as a senior solutions architect for almost 8 years. If you haven't already, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel now as I release videos on a weekly basis. First thing I want to cover is the AWS certification hierarchy, is what I call it. And not to worry, everything I'm going over, I'm going to supply as links in the description below. So just sit back, relax. Don't even need to take notes because guess what? You can watch this over again. If we scroll down here just a little bit, you'll see the available AWS certifications. Now, AWS certification has different levels. There's foundational, there's associate, there's professional, and there's specialty. Where we're going to spend our focus today is on foundational, which is where the Cloud Practitioner sits, as well as associate, which is where the Solution Architect Associate certification sits. Let's look a little bit more in depth on the Cloud Practitioner to see who this certification's for. This is the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner landing page. It has really great information on this cert. I want to call your attention to who this certification is for. So this Cloud Practitioner certification is going to validate foundational, high-level understanding of AWS cloud, services, and terminology. Now, this is going to be a good starting point certification for individuals with no prior IT or cloud experience. And that includes anybody switching to a cloud career, or if you're coming from a business background and looking to improve your cloud literacy. Cloud Practitioner is 90 minutes. There's 65 questions, and it's $100 to take. As with all AWS certifications, I recommend downloading and reviewing the exam guide, which is what I have pulled up now. The exam guide is going to go over everything you need to know to prepare for your Cloud Practitioner certification exam. The exam guide goes a lot deeper than the landing page we just came from. So I'll kind of go through this now to hit a couple of highlights. This exam is intended for individuals who can effectively demonstrate overall knowledge of AWS Cloud independent of a specific job role. So some of the tasks that you're expected to know or be able to focus on when you're preparing for this is being able to explain the value of AWS Cloud, understand the shared responsibility model, understand security best practices, understand AWS Cloud costs, economics, and billing practices, describe and position the core AWS services, including network, compute, database, and storage, as well as identify AWS services for common use cases. Cloud Practitioner is a lot about what does this service do, and it doesn't really get into complex architecture scenarios. Now let's look at the target candidate description. The target candidate has up to 6 months of exposure to AWS cloud design, implementation, or operations. And this certification is ideal for candidates from non-IT backgrounds. So we've seen that again. So if you fall into the category of things like you're new to cloud, you have no IT background, this is going to be a really great certification for you to consider. Now, regarding the questions, there's two different flavors of questions on this exam. You have your multiple choice, which means you need to select one correct response out of 3 incorrect responses. Then you have multiple response, which means you have to pick 2 or more correct answers based on how many correct answers they tell you to select in that question out of 5 or more response options. Another detail you want to familiarize yourself with is the passing score. Now, the scoring is based on a scaled score between 100 to 1,000, and the passing score is a minimum of a 700. So if you can score 700 and above, you'll pass this certification exam. And the final thing I wanted to cover here are the domains. So the domains are the overarching categories that you need to focus on, and under the domains are what are called tasks. So this certification has 4 domains. Domain 1 is cloud concepts, and 24% of the content on this exam is going to fall under the Domain 1 Cloud Concepts area. Domain 2 is security and compliance, covers 30% of the exam. So that's almost 1/3. So you really got to be sharp on that security and compliance area. Domain 3 is cloud technology and services, 34% of the content, roughly 1/3% of the exam. And Domain 4 is billing, pricing, and support, 12% of the exam. And here's an example of a task statement up under Domain 1. So task statement 1.1 is to define the benefits of cloud. And then under this task statement, it really goes into detail about what is expected of you on the exam. You definitely want to download this and review this word for word, page by page in its entirety. Now let's take a look at the AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate landing page and figure out who this certification is for. So this certification is going to showcase the knowledge and skills in AWS technology across a wide range of AWS services. Now the focus of this certification is going to be on well-architected principles, such as design of cost and performance optimized solutions, being able to demonstrate a strong understanding of that AWS well-architected framework. And in case you're wondering, this exam does not require any hands-on coding experience, although familiarity with some high-level basic programming could be an advantage. Now, where you really want to focus on is who should take this exam. This is going to be a great starting point for anybody who has experience in AWS technology, a former strong on-premises IT experience and understanding of mapping how on-premises looks like in the cloud, and any prior work experience in cloud is going to help you out big time. Now, if you don't have any of that, you might want to take that into consideration when it comes to making a decision whether you should go Cloud Practitioner or Solution Architect Associate. Now, the length of this exam is 130 minutes long. Now, remember that Cloud Practitioner was 90 minutes. So as you can imagine, the questions for the Solution Architect Associate are going to be more in depth. They're going to be longer to read through, and that's why you're having more minutes to be able to complete the exam. You still have 65 questions, but you're given 40 minutes more to get through the material. Now, check out what you're going to learn. This is way more in depth than the Cloud Practitioner. You're going to need to be able to showcase your skills in compute, networking, storage, database, AWS services, as well as deployment and management services. You're going to need skills in deploying, managing, and operating workloads in AWS, as well as implementing security controls and compliance requirements. Knowledge and skills in using the AWS Management Console and the AWS Command Line Interface, and understanding of the AWS Well-Architected Framework. Now you're seeing a theme here. That AWS Well-Architected Framework is coming up a bunch. And if you don't know what that is, it's 6 pillars that you're going to need to focus on. That's security, cost, operational excellence, reliability, performance efficiency, and sustainability. A lot of the questions that you're going to have to solve for, you're going to have to look through the lens of that well-architected framework to make sure you're picking the right answer according to the AWS well-architected best practices. You also have to know about AWS networking, security, and AWS global infrastructure. And then regarding technical requirements, you need to be able to match up the right set of AWS services with the technical requirements, and then be able to pick the right answer based on the solutions and the technical requirements that you need to meet. And thank goodness the AWS Solutions Architect Associate also has an exam guide. This is going to be a lifesaver, these exam guides, because it really helps to outline what's going to be on the certification and give you a roadmap for what you need to prepare for. Now, I went ahead and I've jumped down to exam results, and you need to know that the passing score for this exam is 720 out of 1,000. And to be honest with you, it's going to take more effort to get a passing score on this certification than it would be the Cloud Practitioner. Now let's take a look at these ever so important domains. There are also going to be 4 domains on this exam. However, they're going to go deeper and be more complex than the Cloud Practitioner. So domain 1 is Design Secure Architectures, worth 30% of scored content. Domain 2 is Design Resilient Architectures, worth 26% of scored content. Domain 3, Design High-Performing Architectures, worth 24% of scored content. And Domain 4, Designing Cost-Optimized Architectures, worth 20% of the exam. Now, you might not realize it yet, but these domains are aligned directly with that AWS World Architecture framework that I mentioned earlier. As a part of your decision process, make sure you also download this exam guide for a Solution Architect Associate and review it. I really want you to look at these domain topics as well as drill into the task statements here, which will help make your determination on which certification you want to go for. I know we went over a lot of information, and hopefully you're not overwhelmed. So here's what I would do. In summary, if you're new to AWS, if you have no technical background and you want to get started with your AWS learning, the AWS Cloud Practitioner certification is probably going to be a better track for you. If, on the other hand, you have a technical background or you have some experience with AWS, you might be better served to take the Solution Architect Associate. Now, everyone's situation is different. Everyone's background is unique to them. So if you have specific questions, please go ahead and put those in the comments below. I'll take a look at those and I'll make sure I get some feedback over to you. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And if you liked this video, chances are you'll like these videos as well. I'll see you in the next video.